So after understanding an overview of entrepreneurship, we now proceed into the next session, that is procedures and models for entrepreneurial endeavors. In the last session, we explored the significance and definition of entrepreneurship, as well as the diverse attributes, classifications, and challenges faced by the entrepreneurs. In this session, we will provide you instructions on uh, entrepreneurial process, explore several emerging models of entrepreneurship, and examine the diverse elements that stimulate entrepreneurship. Actually, entrepreneurship, it is the most efficient means of generating wealth, particularly for those with a business-oriented attitude. To achieve success in business, it is important to possess a comprehensive understanding of one's entrepreneurial nature and to maintain a high level of self-awareness. One can rapidly develop exceptional entrepreneurial skills by comprehending how to choose a precise model through the analysis of the key drivers of entrepreneurship. I think by the time you will finish this unit, you will be able to describe the complete entrepreneurial process. That is how you are going to establish a unit or an organization or a firm for yourself. You can understand the emerging models of entrepreneurship, because these different models tell you that how you can approach to what are the different approaches to entrepreneurship and how you can develop yourself if you want to become one, and understand the various factors that influence the entrepreneurship. Either if you lack those factors, maybe you will hinder into a well-developed entrepreneurship. But those factors play an important role. So to begin with, the whole session will be divided into three parts. The first is the entrepreneurial process. So first, let us understand what is this. So it is, the entrepreneurial process actually encompasses the sequential and strategic actions and tasks which are required to initiate and oversee a novel business endeavors. Step by step, what we have to do, it explains us that. It involves recognizing potential prospects, acquiring necessary resources, formulating a comprehensive business strategy, initiating the enterprise, and overseeing its expansion and progress. So essentially, the action of entrepreneurs may be understood maybe in as a six-step process. What are the six most important steps that are required one by one in a sequence, obviously? That is, first is that they recognize opportunities to begin with that others may fail to perceive or may fail to look into. They possess a very distinct vision of their concepts and objectives. They adeptly communicate and convincingly influence people with their vision. They have the idea, they look into the future, they perceive the things, and now they have the confidence to discuss it with people, so that because he needs a team. He needs a team, so he'll discuss it with people all around who are going to join him as maybe a part of his organization or a part of his team, and then work further on it. They accumulate resources such as funds, raw material, human resources, maybe other factors of production, maybe land, labor, capital as we call it, to actualize this objective. After that, once they have everything together, then they coordinate and allocate these resources to initiate a new business initiative. Maybe they develop a new product or service. Maybe they enter a new marketplace. Maybe it is within the state, maybe it is within the country, maybe it is at a global level. Maybe because for this they have to understand the consumers, the market, the demand, and then produce accordingly. When they enter, they have to encompass aspects such as leadership and personal, and they also adapt to the changing market needs. That is, I should be saying, dynamism. They have to be very dynamic, they have to be foresighted, they have to have a foresighted, they have to be visionary, they have to have the knowledge of all the resources that is all around that can be utilized to produce the output. So this process, step by step, the first stage is when they have to identify an opportunity. So in the first stage, while identifying an opportunity, so here, according to Timmons in 1989, entrepreneurship, it involves seeing an opportunity in situation that others perceive as disorganized, or maybe contradictory, or maybe confusing also. Others cannot, they do not have the sharp vision that something positive or productive can be brought out of this situation. But when others are looking at this thing, at the things like this, maybe in a disorganized or contradictory way, they have a positive vision to that product or that idea. So the initial phase in developing and operating a prosperous business venture is the identification of an opportunity. I won't say that it is a difficult part, because there are ways and means how to identify an opportunities, but you have to have an eye, you have to have a mind working in that direction. So entrepreneurs, they possess the ability to recognize and seize the opportunities, whereas others tend to view them as maybe obstacles or unattainable goals. For example, if there is a product which is absent in one of the market, any one of the market. For example, if you visit some city and you find that people, they walk barefoot, they do not use footwears. So your idea can be, maybe you said, oh, I want to start a footwear business, but here we have no scope because nobody is wearing them, nobody uses them, so I won't be having the demand for that product. But on the other side, if you are a visionary person, you would say, oh, there is a lots of gap, people do not have footwears. So let me introduce the idea, maybe it will capture, and there is lots of gap, supply gap. So I can be a good, I can start this product into the market and maybe I'll have lots. So an entrepreneur always have a very, very positive vision, and he interprets the situation instead of considering them as obstacles or unattainable goals. So recognizing them timely possibilities, it is very crucial on time, since it confers a first mover's advantage and puts a business ahead of competitors that lag behind. The first mover advantage confers product distinctiveness and enhanced market legitimacy. Your product has to be quite different from your competitors. It should have some added features or some features that are not present in your competitor's product. It has to be distinct in order to capture the market, leading to greater profits and accelerated economies of scale. So, it is the entrepreneur who notices these possibilities. Because they are imaginative and open to new ideas, they are not fixed within the frame or within a box. They seek challenges even when things are going well. They try to, identify the gaps where they can just fill in. So, for example, the Kushagra Bajaj of Bajaj Hindustan, when he returned from the USA in 2000, around 2000, with a master's degree in management, and he saw a very profitable potential in India's sugar market. What happened actually is that At that time, the demand for sugar, it soared very high, and 100 sugar mills were declared sick out of 553 in the sugar sector. Now, instead of taking it as a pessimistic situation, he recognized the issue as an opportunity, and he captured, that time he developed Bajaj Hindustan to the top of the sugar business in India by 2005. So he could have been, that nothing can be done, so many units are running into losses, I think I cannot do it. But yes, he thought that no, maybe if I get into the market and do some innovations and uh, uh, add some new ideas to the product, I will be able to sell more. And this is what exactly happened with the industry, and he just came up with a high number of, high levels of profits in sugar market. So the first stage is very important, initial most stage, to identify the opportunity. After that, once you have you have identified the opportunity, you will have to establish a vision. Now, how do we do that? Let us understand this here under this point. That is, simply looking at the possibilities is not adequate. An entrepreneur must also construct a vision, a desire for the future that can only be fulfilled if those opportunities are taken at the proper moment. One has to first believe in his vision. He has to be very clear in his mind. He can see his optimism. Even if market circumstances are different, maybe market situations might vary, but he will adapt his vision to keep his aim alive and prospering. I think there are often, there are some lofty ideas, or maybe others when think that it is unrealistic, but this person who can visualize, after identifying the opportunity, he can work on it. For example, if you very common example, and I think student must be aware of it, that when Reliance entered into the telecommunication industry, they had a fantasy that they would place a mobile phone in every person's pocket. That is every person's hand. But how to work it out? They had a vision. At that time, the condition or the situation in India was not that pro. But then everything is a history now. Today, you see that his dream has come true. Even a vegetable merchant, even farmers, milkmen, gardeners, everyone has a cell phone. So dreaming this big in a poverty-stricken country in India, like that time period, at the time period when he dreamt of it, it demands bravery, it demands, vision, it demands courage also. So an entrepreneur has to have a vision. Next, he cannot work alone. As I said previously, he needs others. He needs a team. For this, he needs to persuade others. So, since he is not working alone, he recognizes that varied competencies are required to manage a successful organization. For example, an American academician, Kathleen, refers to this stage called forming the foundation team. That is when you are trying to persuade others, convince others, pull them towards your ideas, that what I am saying, it has some substance, in which an entrepreneur, he collects a group of individuals who would work to actualize his goal, because he cannot work alone. An entrepreneur writes a business plan to explain the aim and techniques for reaching it to the others who will join the team. These people include not just professional workers who place their confidence in the entrepreneurs, but there are other people also who have to be there For example, for his product, not only to manufacture the product, but also to sell the product, to place their products in the market. And they have to have, sometimes they start with the family business, they involve their family members, they have partnership. You have to compel people and attract people who will be believing in your ideas, who will be believing in your vision, and they are ready to cooperate and join you. For example, maybe Tata Sons, Mahindra and Mahindra, JK Group, Singhania family, etc. They are very good example of converting their ideas and vision into such a big group that they are spread throughout the country and even on international domain. Next stage is to gather the resources. The resources can be your in simple terms, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Entrepreneur himself is doing that. He needs money, he needs raw material, he needs people. So after identifying an opportunity and crafting a vision and encouraging people to participate is not adequate, still you have one step ahead to follow, and that is a commercial. What a commercial enterprise requires is resources to flourish. So this is the period in which an entrepreneur's ambition may become a reality, because now he is gathering things. Although we are presenting this process step by step, maybe demonstrating that resource problems are to be taken into consideration or maybe into account, the truth is that part of the first examination of the concept will inevitably contain a preliminary assessment of whether it can be effectively resourced or not. That is, when you are identifying the opportunity, at that time also you will have to have an overlook over the resources, because without them you cannot, materialize your idea. Resources are categorized in 4 broad categories or groups, that is financial, operations, humans, and information. This we will be elaborating later on. Financial is the money consideration, whether he brings his own money or he takes a loan or he raises the money required through capital market, share market, wherever. Operation, that is operating the business, that is the human resources, that is the management and the production, everything, how to do that. Then humans, that is human resources, the labor, the partners, the secretariat, everything, all the human beings required, then the consumers also, and the information obviously that is required. We will be discussing these are essential resources, and therefore we will be discussing them in detail in different sessions at the later stage. So after gathering all the resources, we have to create the new venture. So once it has been, the entrepreneur has acquired the above mentioned resources, the next stage is to create or establish the new enterprise and effectively operate it. The former task, that is starting a new enterprise, demands significant excitement and persuasion for him to acquire the greatest resources feasible. And the latter task is that running a business endeavors, that is latter task is running a business endeavors which needs a great tenacity and the capacity to trust in oneself. That is, one needs to have self-confidence and conviction in himself that he can do it, assembling all the resources, fulfill or maybe visualize whatever he can fulfill whatever he had visualized in the past. And then last is you adapt with the time. That is, once you are in a moving, you are all set, you start working, you start running your your enterprise, and then later on you have to adapt with time, and you have to take into consideration the changes that are happening all around. That is because as change has become the norm in today's business climate, the entrepreneur has to continually develop and adapt the firm to the new condition, otherwise he will be lagging behind. So this is not a simple task, since it demands the availability of finance to accomplish change, and more difficult is the adaptation of human resources to new environment. So he has to remain dynamic, he has to remain updated, he has to remain open to all the changes that are there in the market coming up, and learn and adapt and then work accordingly. So these were the 6 stages that could be followed step by step by an entrepreneur to establish himself. So this was the first part. Then let us move on to the second part, that is the entrepreneurial model. The term entrepreneur model actually refers to the creation of new business entity as a means of providing work for an individual or a group of individuals, maybe with a diagnosis of a developmental disability. In this model, the skills and interest of the individuals or a group of individuals with an autism spectrum disorders are used as a basis for the creation of a new business. The goal for Endeavour is to create enough revenue from the business to pay both the workers with the disability and support staff who assist them. So the advantage of an entrepreneurial model is that the work involved is specifically chosen to match the skills and interest of the individual or individuals, maybe if we have a big team with different capabilities or different potentials. The biggest challenge for entrepreneurial model is that it faces the same startup costs and difficulties in reaching profitability of any new business endeavors. But these models show us the directions, the path, or maybe the way that how to move into proceed to form your own organization or your own enterprise. So there are 4 business models, that is the enabler, the producer, the advocate, and the opportunity. So let us just move into understand them in detail. The opportunist is one of the several models used in the development of corporate entrepreneurship. This model assumes that corporate entrepreneurship occurs accidentally, mainly due to unexpected business opportunities. So the 2 dimensions are organizational ownership dimension, which refers to the level of control and decision-making authority that employees have within an organization. It relates to the degree to which employees feel a sense of ownership and responsibility towards the organization and its goals. And secondly, the dimensions of resource authority. The second dimension is of resource authority, that is whether the project is funded by company money or specifically or ad hoc or whatever. So these 2 dimensions, they create 4 models of corporate entrepreneurship, that is the opportunist, where the ownership is dispersed and the allocation of resources is ad hoc. Whereas the second is the enabler, which means dispersed ownership and special resources. The advocate is the third one, which has focused ownership and ad hoc resources. Whereas the last is the producer, which has focused ownership and dedicated resources. Let us go into detail one by one. First, we talk about the opportunist model. What it refers to is it refers to a strategic approach that takes advantage of favorable circumstances and opportunities for personal gain or advantage maybe. So every business begins as an opportunist. Every business begins as an opportunist. In the absence of defined ownership or resources, corporate entrepreneurship, if it exists, depends on the endeavors and virtuousness of audacious project champions, individuals who persist under the unfavorable circumstances, often establishing new ventures in defiance of the business. The opportunist model is most effective in corporate cultures that prioritize trust, encourages innovation, and have many social networks operating alongside and official hierarchies. In such an environment, when there are numerous executives with the authority to make decisions, the opportunist model thrives. It is the only opportunist model that thrives. So, valuable concepts might often slip through the crack within an organization without the presence of this conducive environment, or receive inadequate backing. So, consequently, what will happen is several companies deem the opportunist strategy to be fruitless. When companies make a commitment to organic development, it is understood by executives that a scattered and improvised strategy is inadequate. As a result of its previous success using less intrusive techniques, the company has now, the company now implemented more structured development procedures to introduce new businesses to the market, and consequently, the firm starts to transition away from the opportunistic strategy. This is the opportunist model, and therefore the key characteristics. So, we find that the model has some characteristic features or key characteristics. That is, it lacks organizational ownership and specified resource authority. It has an initial approach frequently embraced by a corporation at the start of its venture. Third feature is that innovation arises from the motivation of a determined individual who strives to conquer many challenges to foster this innovation. Lastly, the opportunistic approach is effective when the organization embraces a culture of openness and experimentation. I would say that a burgeoning firm will gradually, it will transition from this approach as it becomes cognizant of the need to emphasize organizational ownership and allocate resources towards fostering organic growth. So, this is about the opportunist model. Next, we move on to the enabler model. Enabler model is a conceptual framework or approach that facilitates or supports a certain process or outcome. It is based on premise that providing employees with enough support would foster their enthusiasm for generating innovative ideas. By allocating resources and establishing protocols, teams can independently investigate potential opportunities on requiring formal corporate ownership. However, these exploration must align with the organization's strategic framework. The latest iteration of the enabler model encompasses the provision of the following by the companies, that is, explicit benchmarks for selecting viable prospects, comprehensive standards for funding the applications, transparent decision-making process, effective strategies for attracting and retaining the personnel with entrepreneurial inclination, and maybe of maybe of utmost significance the proactive endorsement from top level executives. The company may offer several criteria, for example, because they will have to tell that whom they will allow. Obviously, they cannot leave the space open for anybody to do anything. So they have certain, they offer certain criteria, that is, first is the explicit guidance on which chances to pursue, the funding criteria, enhancing transparency for decision makers, optimizing recruiting processes, and improving staff retention. To understand it better, let us take an example. Google. Google is a good example of a corporation that has used the enabler approach. Google allocates 20% of its workers' time to foster innovation and generate new ideas. The procedure for presenting ideas on Google are such as the procedures are, advocate their ideas to co-workers. They are allowed to do that. Assemble a group of individuals to work together as a team on maybe some common ideas or some common vision. Examine the concept and prototype also. So, when it comes to advertising ideas, it is very crucial to possess a comprehension of company model. Maybe a lean canvas is a widely used business model that emphasizes the creation of value and the minimization of waste in the process of developing a product. So, in order to remain pertinent and maintain a competitive edge in the market, firms must prioritize innovation. So, this was the enabler model.